All right, yesterday we talked about how to prove that angles are congruent with parallel lines and also vice versa, how to prove that if two angles are congruent, why the lines are then parallel. So today we're going to build on that idea by relating parallel and perpendicular lines to each other. Now in order to do this, we're going to talk about two different theorems today. All right, the first one is theorem 3-5. If two lines are parallel to the same line, then they are parallel to each other. All right, there's no nice pretty name for this, but it basically means that if I have this line and they are both parallel to this middle line, then we can conclude that these two lines are parallel to each other. So in order to demonstrate that, I'm going to just mark up our picture here real quick. All right, so I have this line and this line, and they are parallel to each other, okay? But I also have this line and this line that are parallel to each other. So then I can conclude that because they are parallel to each other, that this line and this line, and in fact this middle line, are all parallel to each other, okay? All right, the second theorem we're going to be talking about today is theorem 3-6. And this states in a plane, if two lines are perpendicular to the same line, then they are parallel to each other. Now notice that it says in a plane. All right. Uh, this is very important. You just want to make sure that you're not talking about two lines that are non-coplanar, okay? All right, so in this case, we can say that if this line is perpendicular, which creates a 90-degree angle with this line, and this line is also perpendicular to this line, we can conclude that these two lines are in fact perpendicular, are parallel to each other. Now the reason being is that if you look, these both are 90-degree angles or right angles, all right, which we've talked about in the past. Okay. Now, because they are 90-degree angles, therefore they are congruent, okay, we can conclude that these are in fact parallel because these angles are congruent. All right, and this goes back to a previous theorem or postulate we've talked about. So tomorrow we're just going to be working with these these two theorems, excuse me, and do some examples. Some of the examples may include some algebra, okay? However, most of them are pretty self-explanatory and you should catch on very quickly.